Now let me go to Dr. John Kumah. And John, the minister says that restoring fiscal discipline and putting the public debt on a sustainable downward trajectory is a priority for government to achieve fiscal consolidation. How are you doing this in the face of this reality check that you have overborrowed, you are getting investors concerned, and all of this is going to worry? And I understand you are not too, as it were, excited that we'll be talking the way we do because it adds to the investor confidence in the economy.
Yes, Samson. Good morning to your listeners and viewers, and good morning to my senior, the Honorable Seth Pepe.
Good morning.
Yes, senior. To address the issues that the investor community have raised, I think the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta laid out clearly Ghana's position on some of the concerns that have been raised. And we sincerely believe that the concerns are being exaggerated, and that Ghana, in this particular instance, is being unfairly downgraded or targeted, especially if the basis of the downgrade or the concerns being raised is about, but as you read out to us. First of all, let us understand that this economy, recovering from COVID in the last year, has grown on the average of 5.2%. If you check the first quarter growth from 2021 was 3.3%. Then we did 3.9%. In the third quarter, Ghana grew by 6.6%. So if you take the average of the 3 quarters, we don't have the fourth quarter yet. And we all know that fourth quarter, because of Christmas activities, tend to be the highest. But we did 6.6% in the third quarter. So with the 3 quarters in 2021, we are talking about an average of 5.2%. But the growth rate target for 2021 was 5%. So if you are doing 5.2%, it means you are doing well. Our budget deficit for last year, 2021, was 9.4%, which I think we did 9.5%, just slightly above it, and several other things. If you look at our revenue targets, GRA was given a target of 57 billion. They ended up collecting about 57.3 billion. So an economy that is growing about 5%, meeting its revenue targets and achieving even high, if you look at our bank reserves, which is about 4% at 4 months of import, above 4 months of import. I mean, at a point in 2021, we're doing even more than 5 months of import, and we are still above 4 months of import. So we don't see the basis for such an exaggerated concern, except to say that maybe it's because of the E-levy on pass in Parliament, and because of the nature of parliamentary strength, which is equal among two major parties, and so they are not sure about how our revenue targets, how the revenue targets are going to go in 2022. Otherwise, we don't see the very basis for the fears, which I think that is much exaggerated. Going forward, in 2022, the finance minister also pointed out that fiscal consolidation and trying to reduce our debt, which is of concern to them, we have indicated that we are going to do about 7.4% of deficit, which means we are slowing down our borrowing and checking out our expenditure as well. And then also we are seeking to do a lot of infrastructure and at the same time create jobs through the U-Start program. But when Honorable Seth Pepe was talking, he talked about the number of borrowing interventions that came in 2020. It talked about the BOG asset purchase financing support that came. We talked about the World Bank and our development partners. But that was a year where we had a shortfall of 11.6 billion in our revenues. We lost about 11.6 billion in our revenue target. And then we had an unbudgeted, unplanned expenditure, extra expenditure of about 13.6 billion. So when you put the two together, you are talking about 25.5 billion gap in our budget in one particular year due to COVID. So how was government going to address this problem? This is how all the interventions that came helped Ghana to address it. The World Bank loans, the IMF support, the Bank of Ghana support we took. It was all geared towards addressing the unexpected, the lawyers, you say, a force majeure situation of COVID that hit our economy. So it wasn't something like a wasteful expenditure or lack of good governance that resulted in that. And we can all understand that, yes, our debt has gone up because of the COVID. And not just Ghana. Look at the COVID and its impact globally. There is no single country in this world today.
Yeah, but the question Mr. Tepe is asking is that who is financing these COVID interventions? He mentions the World Bank giving us, is it 100 million?
No, World Bank gave us about 600 million. African Development Bank gave us some money. The IMF gave us the loan. And I didn't mention our own stabilization fund, which with 3 oil fields, we never increased.
Yeah, what do you say to that? So we are not directly responsible for financing this.
Yes, but in that difficult situation, everybody was looking elsewhere for support. It's not only Ghana. The IMF and the World Bank intervened in several countries to support them. And like I told you, if you're able to raise revenues, that is when you are able to spend. Unfortunately, we had a shortfall of about 11.6 billion revenue shortfall, and we needed to spend extra 13 billion on budgeted expenditure in that same year. So yes, it is true that the World Bank, other development partners came on board to support Ghana in the financing regime, and several other local financing sources that we used, including the Bank of Ghana and even the contingency fund. And you remember, even the Fiscal Responsibility Act had to be suspended until 2025, if you remember, so that Ghana could go beyond the limit of 5% fiscal deficit as required by law. So this was an exceptional situation. And we are saying that for Ghana to be judged or to be assessed based on COVID year and the difficulties it brought on our economy, and in spite of all that we have achieved subsequently to that, because in 2021, all the target we set, we were able to grow, even when we set a target of growth of 5% and said we'll raise 57 billion in 2021. They say market doubted us, but we achieved it. And we even gone beyond the targets that we set for ourselves as a country. Today, we are talking about 2022, where we have set another target to do more. And yet they are saying it's overambitious, we cannot achieve it, and raising all kinds of doubts. But we believe in our capacity to deliver in this country. Yes, there are issues about E-levy because at the moment, even though the Parliamentary Finance Committee has approved and recommended for approval, because Parliament of the whole has not approved, it looks like a delayed revenue measure. And so it may have impact on the collections and the volumes we have stated in the budget. But government has immediately reacted and announced that we are going to have about 20% cut in expenditure in the first quarter, so that we don't want to exceed our deficit target. We don't want to spend what we do not have. And so even though we are seeking to do 20% cut in our expenditure, it is still going to be earmarked to the performance of the revenue, so that if we are still able to achieve our revenue target, then we will spend. If we are not able to achieve our revenue target, we are going to cut our expenditures by 20%. So we have demonstrated commitment.
Fitch said that, in their view, Ghana's ability to deliver on planned fiscal consolidation efforts could be hindered by the heavier reliance on domestic debt issuance with higher interest costs in the context of an already exceptionally high interest expenditure to revenue ratio.
Samson, that's where we disagree with Fitch and Bloomberg and some of these rating agencies. It appears that if Ghana says we are not going to the international market, then we don't have an alternative to finance our expenditures in this country. But this is not the first time Ghana has not gone on the market. You see, in 2017, Ghana didn't go on the market, and yet we met our expenditure targets and revenues. In 2022, government is looking more within to raise the financing, because the good news for Ghana was that last year, the IMF gave Ghana the SDR of 1 billion, the special drawing right. And we spent 250 million of that in last year's budget. We still have 750 million, or about $700 million sitting in Ghana already. So we don't have to go out there in the market to borrow. And we have factored that. And all the external financing that we are looking at is just about $750 million for us to be able to achieve the expenditure targets for 2022. And we think that we have enough capacity within our domestic market to be able to raise enough financing to achieve the budget targets. They have their doubts, but 1 year is not far away. Just like they doubted us in 2021, we delivered. And I believe that if this is the basis of concern, for them to be rating us at the levels that they are doing, we are very, very surprised, because an economy that is growing about 5% in COVID and meeting its revenue target cannot be said to be having a negative outlook. You get it? So, yes, but we are all entitled to disagree. And I want to assure the country that irrespective of other people's confidence in us, we have strong confidence in our ability to deliver the best for our country and manage the economic affairs of Ghana in the best of means possible. And now the targets we have set for 2022 shall be met by the grace of God. Just
now,
like we set it for 2021.
People are facing the stark reality of the unprecedented borrowing that you have been involved in, and yet you issue a statement and tell them that in spite of whatever, we do not face any imminent external imbalances. And we have these rating agencies that you have always placed a lot of hope and trust in them. Suddenly, you have issues with them. How do we reconcile that?
Samson, we are saying that we expected them to appreciate that in those countries where they even are, they have seen that there's no singular country. Look, in the US, apart from the $1.9 trillion when Biden came initially, they created to shore up the economy. Recently, they have put across another $3 trillion for infrastructure. Every country is adding on to their debt. And they know that's the reality of how you rebuild out of COVID. Okay, so we are not saying, yes, we haven't borrowed. There's no country, even the West African regional average of debt was 35% before COVID. Today, we are talking about 65% of West Africa debt to GDP, regional average. So these are the difficult realities that, yes, the world has gone through some hardship, okay? And so if we have shown that in spite of those difficulties, we are slowing down on our debt, we have shown, at least from the 2021 and 2022 performance and targets, that we are reducing our debt rate, and we have shown how we are going to create jobs for young people through the U-Start and expand the economy so that we can grow at targets that help us.
And you are hoping to do that. You are hoping to do that with E-levy, and the minister did announce that himself, you, and other key members of government, you were going to, embark on a public engagement and sensitization campaign across the country to communicate clearly the proposed mechanics of the E-levy. and its potential benefits to the people within the spirit of burden sharing that must guide all of us towards our development efforts to move Ghana beyond aid. He says you intend to use the money, create jobs and grow the private sector to employ more of the youth, accelerate the digitalization agenda to bring more convenience to Ghanaians, enhance the security of our digital platform, aggressively expand our road infrastructure agenda, reduce our dependence on debt, and reduce the crowding out of the private sector to improve access to credit. When you say this and you get yourselves ready, all of you, to go out and begin to talk to people about this, is this not what you should rather be doing to the MPs, the minority members of parliament, because it is not sure what is going to happen again?
Yes, Samson, you have a good point, and that's what we've done all this vacation. We've talked to almost every stakeholder that we need to engage. As we speak, I am in Kwahu, Rock City, with all the majority members of parliament and trying to engage further on the E-levy. I just returned from Kumah and engaging the media and explaining to the population on the need for us all to support the E-levy and how it can bring support to the growth of our economy and its importance to the 2022 budget. So, and of course, FBOs, the faith-based organizations, minority groups in parliament, we will continue to engage. And at the end of the day, we believe that when parliament resumes next week, parliament will be in a position to pass the E-levy so that as a country, we will be able to raise enough resources. And in line with this burden sharing issue, we know that telcos have agreed to also reduce their expenditures or their charges by 0.25%. So that clearly is going to help us in the...
This is intended to give you only 10% or less of what you are expected to raise. And yet, even that there are speculations that what you expect to raise, you may not get as much as you are looking forward. You are looking to about, is it 7 billion to 8 billion? And the speculation is that you may get close to half or less. And yet, this still remains such an integral part, or as it were, the pivot of your fundraising activities, revenue-raising activities.
Yes, Samson, it is true. We believe we will raise the 6.9 billion if we start with the E-levy. If by any event we are not able to raise that, I have told you that there's going to be strong commitment control, not just on revenues, but also on expenditure. And our minister the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, has already announced a 20% cut on expenditure in the first quarter. So if we are not able to raise enough revenues, we will still stay within the budget target and we will not overrun the budget.
Okay.
But we are very confident that we will raise it. We know the work we have done and what the basis for the projections that we did. We are even confident that that estimate is very, very conservative. And granted, you know, the volumes of mobile money transactions in Ghana in 2020 was 900 billion. And it was expected to even increase into trillions by the close of 2021. And so we believe that with the kind of investment we have done in that industry or in that sector, in the mobile money sector and other digital platforms, we will believe that we'll be able to hit the target.
Okay.
And
right. Just in a minute, what will you say to those who are saying this minister is tired? He's simply not seeing his way through all of this portfolio of the Ministry of Finance. The president should simply retire him.
I'll be surprised to hear that. Those of us who are close to him and work with him, he works like I don't know which animal is the strongest. Maybe
is the result that is being talked about.
No, but his results has been splendid. which minister has consistently hit his target since he became finance minister? Revenue targets are met, growth targets are met, expenditure targets are met. So what is the basis of the assessment that you are talking about? COVID was not his fault. This was that finance minister that grew this country by consistently 7% consistent growth in 3 years until COVID hit. And even in spite of COVID, he's growing at the targets for every year. He's hitting his target. So it says that's why I'm saying it's very exaggerated for anybody to be thinking that the economy is not heading well. And we are very confident at the innovations that he's able to bring and his discipline in maintaining how targets within the year are met. And we should continue to support him. I would tell those people to rather tell the president to continue to have confidence in the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta and his ability to deliver the economic agenda for Ghana.